This episode of Chops is brought to you by Sight Reading Factory.
Sight Reading Factory generates virtually infinite music for students to sight read with customizable difficulty levels to give them exactly what they need. Sheet music is generated on the spot for your ensemble, and individual parts with correct transpositions are sent to students' devices. Sight reading with an ensemble has never been easier.
Okay, Jack, what if it created a rhythm and cut time? 2 quarter notes, 2/8 notes, and a quarter rest. How would that go?
Probably something like this.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Chops Podcast. I'm Steve Peterson.
And I'm Jack Hinkle.
We talk about knowing your students, knowing your teaching, and knowing your content. Today is a great day, Jack.
Is it, Steve?
It is a great day. It's 5 p.m. It's gloomy. It's probably raining.
Yep. It's that time of year. It's dark at 5:30. You know how it goes in that.
Yeah, but it's a good thing.
EST.
It's a good thing because this time of year it's very dark on the way to school, on the way home from school.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so good that my 2013 Honda Odyssey is lit up like a Christmas tree because all the dashboard lights are on. So it's kind of like when I get into the van, it's like, oh, it's Christmas. What, my tire? What? I got things blinking I don't even recognize. I swear there's like a cow blinking on my dashboard. Like, I don't know what's going on, but it is very colorful and it kind of helps the mood.
Okay, so if you guys know a good car guy, text Steve.
I'm calling the Angel tomorrow.
Angel, he'll take care of you. I just want to let you know you'll be proud of this. This weekend, I finally got all the leaves out of all like the little landscape areas where they like are behind the divider into the mulch. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay.
So we blew those out and then
But
mowed.
didn't all your mulch go with it?
Some, not all. But we raked big piles and then we mulched. Dude, my yard looked awesome yesterday for about 5 minutes, and then it got windy, and then there were a bunch of leaves in there again.
Exactly.
But it felt really good to look
Good
at that.
for you, Jack.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I did some of that with my yard.
Yeah?
You know, I've been mowing
Yeah.
just because it's
Easier than raking.
It's easier than raking.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of wet again.
Yep.
Right? So I've been leaving the leaves under the bushes. Number one, I don't want to mess with it. Number two is they're going to decompose and give me rich, fertile soil.
Yeah, for all the gardening you do. You're just going to have the crabgrass come out next year, and he's going to be blaming Scott's turf for that again. He's like, I can't do the laugh you do.
Yeah.
It's the crabgrass fairy.
Yeah. So anyway, that's okay. Tomorrow is Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and then we have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off. Yes. Right?
Yes.
Jack has Marching Minutemen Marching Band banquet tonight.
Very soon, so we're going to talk twice as fast.
Yep.
And then if you want to listen to this at the appropriate pace, put it on half speed at your podcast listening,
that's a
right?
good idea.
Because we got places to be tonight. Tonight, Steve, we're talking about feedback and how to give and receive feedback appropriately as an adult in the workforce. How's that?
Give and receive feedback.
Because I thought about this
adult
today.
in the
Being a
workforce.
student would be maybe not lame, but all they do is get told when they're wrong. Right? That's our job. It's teaching. You're like, nope, that's wrong. Do it this way. Like, that's their whole day. And sometimes throughout the day, they go, huh, that was right. Good job. Right? We're so used to providing feedback, not for our peers, but for our students. And we get caught in this loop of like how we're supposed to do it. And then we have to talk to adults and we're like, ooh, I don't know how to do this one as well. As a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And this is something that, people in non-teaching workplaces where they're working with other adults all the time have to navigate some way. There is still a hierarchy in workplaces, with bosses and team leaders and all that stuff. But it still feels different for teachers to talk to other teachers providing feedback and receiving feedback. So Steve's going to talk about his hot tips for things that he's gone through in his life with receiving and giving feedback.
Early on, I had no feedback, and what I wanted was feedback. in the first 4 years of teaching, I was by myself at 5 schools by myself.
5 schools?
5 schools, 3 elementaries, the junior high and high school.
Did you go to each one every day?
No,
Okay,
I was
that's
on
good.
some kind of crazy rotation, and so I visited each of those schools, but so I'd see them like once or twice a week, whatever it was. But there was no other music teacher that I was around all day. There was a choir teacher, but she was in the building the other half that I wasn't. So I never saw anybody, and I never got any feedback. The people I ended up getting feedback from were like the Methodist pastors that like lived next door. Their parsonage was right next to the band room.
Your tubas are
and,
playing a little sharp.
And we would talk about things musically. And then I talked to my wife about that, and that's where I got the best feedback. I did not get it, young teachers out there. I did not get it from my colleagues, and I did not get it from my administration.
Didn't your principal fall asleep during your observation?
My principal fell asleep during an observation. And when it came time to writing a recommendation letter, he said, well, go ahead and write it yourself, and then I'll just sign off on it. And
fascinating.
So, but I did look for feedback. I did look for feedback because I used to call people all the time.
Yeah.
I used to call my mentor teachers, people I had in high school and college, and that I'd gotten to know, and just would ask them, if I had questions about percussion, I'd call percussion directors. I would visit the local community colleges and invite those guys to come in, and try to make connections. But that I wanted that because, it was literally not there. So you had feedback early on.
I had so much feedback early
Yeah.
on. Guys, did you know Steve was my mentor teacher?
Woo!
Back in, till this day. But
I did it for the money.
you were,
It was
did
called-
you even get paid back then for that? I don't think they put that stipend in until recently.
Oh, no, dang it.
Yeah, Steve was my mentor teacher in 2017. He was assigned to me as a first-year teacher.
That was fun.
You had a lot to work with. It was a good time. It was a good time because you knew me.
Yeah.
I knew you because we had worked together back in my actual student days when you were just my teacher.
Mm-hmm.
But I had Steve as my mentor, but then, I had Scott Spradling as my boss and my administrator, and he was a music teacher,
Yeah.
and we taught together every day during the marching band season, so he was able to help and chose to help. And so having you two especially, and then on top of the, not as, I don't know, it's more casual observation and feedback from other directors that we worked with on staff, not as intentional based on the on the observation schedule. But a lot of really good teachers I was around as a young teacher, and that was really helpful, especially because I knew how these guys taught, like as a kid, but then when I was able to come back and look at it with teacher eyes, not student eyes, I could kind of understand better what I needed to do. And that's not even like feedback. That was just like osmosis.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I remember like early on, Scott would talk to me a lot about marching band and think about doing this, because we kind of co-taught those years.
The high brass.
The high brass. And then I eventually adopted the mellophones. They seceded from the trumpet union.
Mm-hmm.
They
As
probably
they should.
were waiting for years for
They were
that.
looking
Can we
for
get away from these
They're
guys?
looking for the cats.
They're so full
Yeah.
of themselves. We just want to be in our happy land of appropriate dynamics and niceness.
With my Birkenstocks.
With my Birkenstocks and my crop jeans. Okay. So yeah, that's what it was. And then we come into concert season, and Steve and I, we taught together, truly co-taught that class at least twice a week, and sectionals the other times.
Yes.
And almost always you were willing to take time to sit down with me and here's what this was. This was good. Think about this next time. All the time. And I think I bugged you about it a lot.
You did.
Because I was I think I was pretty insecure, and I just wanted to make sure that I'm doing stuff right. Because I think that's hard as a new teacher. It's that you're just putting it all out there for the first time, and you're just hoping it'll stick.
Yep.
And you have no idea, you have very little reference for what's good and what's not. You're in survival mode. And so having somebody who is good at what they do, but also in the room with you, is so helpful. So I was really fortunate to have a situation like this. It's kind of interesting. You and I had like the exact opposite like upbringing at the start of our teaching career.
Yes.
Like you had no supervision and I had a
A
lot
of
of supervision.
supervision. You know,
Yeah.
in each one of those cases, if we're talking to teachers out there right now that have been through those different situations and a mix of those, in that you can help get benefits from it, you know, any way you can,
Yeah.
right? To scrap your way through to find people to give you feedback, to find the mentor teachers, to find the people down the street at a neighboring community college or at a neighboring high school. I think those are all wonderful things to do to help critique your teaching. As I carried on in my career here at Concord, one thing that helped me along the way was teacher evaluations. And I wasn't ready for that to be such an effective tool.
You weren't ready for it to be an effect?
Well,
Or you were just planning on it being lame?
well, early on, like, I don't think there were like teacher evaluations.
Oh,
Like,
really?
I mean, occasionally,
Fascinating.
but it wasn't like, you know, right now, like the last, I'm not sure how many years, 10 years, forgive me, but it's been more regimented, right?
And mandated.
Yeah. And you have this rubric and everybody goes through the same thing, and the school district is very clear about what they're going to evaluate and build the system and build the process. But I think one of my inspirations was Denise Tahara.
Oh, yeah, you've talked about her.
Yeah, Denise was the associate principal at the time, and she was assigned to me. And I think like that, those evaluations may be like the start of Chop's podcast in my mind.
Denise Tahara, the OG. Cool.
Because that was like where I learned to really talk about teaching.
Okay.
And she wasn't a musician. I think she was a math teacher back in the day. But we just talked about teaching, and we talked about relationships, and we talking about like knowing your content. And the meetings that I would have with her were not anything like I had before, like officially. Like they were helpful. Yeah. And they were like positive, but also challenging, you know. And then what would you say is, you know, how many stars would teachers today give their evaluation process? Not very many. Like, you know, it's kind of like evaluation, right?
Yeah, it's stressful.
Right, it's stressful.
Yeah.
That was like a really life-giving or cool thing.
Yeah.
That like inspired me because somebody wanted to talk to me who was in the class about what was actually going on in my class. And she should say, well, have you thought about this? And maybe you should try this. And you're really good at this, but what about there?
And if I may wrap it back to like the parent-teacher conference podcast, we talked about how like parent-teacher conferences can be like one of two things. One, it can just be going through the grades, or two, it can be talking about your kid. The same's true for teacher evaluations, right? Like you can go into an evaluation, they just work through the rubric and say, well, you got a 3 here, 2 here, 4 here, blah, blah, blah. But like, no, talk about me. Talk to me.
Oh.
And like talk to me what my kids are doing. And like I've had that like in having music teacher evaluators, which I've been fortunate enough to have. That's happened. They're like, well, in this class, like this was happening here and you addressed it this way. Great. Consider doing it this way. And like you were my evaluator last year, and I remember having a pretty good conversation about that.
Yeah.
And that's been like super helpful too. And it's too bad that like, you know, probably administrators everywhere are like overworked. Yeah. But that is like such an important part of the job that can sometimes, I imagine, get, you know, kind of pushed down because of fires blowing up everywhere. But I agree with you. I think that should not be a stressful thing, but should be like I'm looking forward to this because I want to know what you think.
Right. And you have like a discussion about real things, and maybe you even get to talk about like some philosophy.
Yeah.
And then how it's working out in your class.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really grateful for that, for Denise in those evaluations in those years. I feel like that was kind of like the middle part of my high school career at Concord. And I felt like that was really formative. And it kind of got me into wanting to be a part of more groups, like at school,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
leadership teams or I don't know, think tanks. They would have discussions about this or whatever, and I'd want to be a part of them, you know. And so I did, you know. Overall, again, that's I'm appreciative of that.
Yeah. How or what would you say to a teacher that feels like their stomach gets tight thinking about being told how they're teaching? Like they feel like
When they're
anxious.
talking, not just getting evaluated, but when they're discussing.
Yeah. What do you say to somebody that's feeling that?
That's a honest reaction.
Yeah.
And you know, you want to be successful, you want to be liked, you want to have results, you want to have relationships, you want to be that 4-star teacher, right? I mean, everybody signed up to be that 4-star teacher. Like
That's
Mrs.
true. No one's
Mrs.
joined this and be
Yeah,
like, I'm just
everybody
going to be
signed up to
okay."
be like Miss Honey from Matilda. You know, they
Ooh,
didn't
nice.
sign up
Deep
to
cut.
didn't sign up to be Miss
Trench
Trenchball. She's such a bully. But you know, we signed up with these visions of having these aha moments with students and wanting to like, I love math, I love you, you know, and all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And that doesn't always happen. And in fact, that's sometimes hard to see that like long in short term. It's hard to see that growth, and it's hard to see that effect that you may or may not be having on students. But to then actually like go from your dream world about what you think you're doing or what you intended to do, what you thought you were doing, and then being called on that, and this is what I saw, this is what I observed. Here's the one that gets me. This is what you said. Like in our evaluations at Concord,
yeah,
they do timestamps, and so they basically kind of record your conversation typing. They record what you're saying as a teacher, and then they just timestamp it, and you gotta read through this whole thing. You're like, good night. What I said? What? Oh my! Why is anybody still in my class?
Okay, you talked about the dream world versus the reality. Dude, that is so real. Because you're like, I'm going to lesson plan this. We're going to have the tuner up on the board. My kids are going to play F concert into the tuner. We're all going to match the waves. We're going to look, and we're going to see who can stay in the green smiley face long enough on tonal energy.
And we're going to celebrate as a class.
Yes, and you're like watching the board the entire time. The kid's getting close. You're not looking at the kids, but the kid's getting close on the board, and everyone is like, you think everyone's watching, and you're not looking at them because you're just so locked into the board. And then the evaluator's just like in the back of the room just typing. And then you talk about it in the conference. He's like, yeah, the whole class were on their phones.
Yeah, as you were having your little moment of tunage.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, because you need to check in, and sometimes you get lost in your own thing. It goes back to like the multitasking thing. It's like having a pulse on what's going on in the room at all times, even if you don't want to.
Okay, hot take. Here we go. When we lived in Kentucky, we used to go to marching band competitions, Kathy and I, and there was a band that we used to go to watch. It was another really small band, okay? But it was like, they would play like, they weren't real advanced, and like my band, not very advanced at the time, and they would play like well-known pop rock tunes.
Okay.
Right? Like from the 70s or 60s. Yeah, but not quite that groovy. You know, it was kind of like think think of a size 40 kid wearing a size 20 cummerbund, you know? And with his feet, his pants way too high, and, you know, his head is like an extra large, and he's wearing like a little small.
The Shaco's coming up here. His sideburns are sticking out.
Wearing a blue plume with gold tinsel
has
hanging out
not
of it.
shaved his whole life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but the band was like playing pop tunes.
Okay.
That everybody knew. So the band's playing like bad, and they're like playing a tune that everybody would recognize, but no one would want to sing along with it because it just wasn't very good. I'm not being mean. I'm setting up the punchline would be the director was off to the side, dressed pretty as a picture, and be like swaying back and forth like he was singing along with it, like he was having a moment. So the purpose of that story was, isn't that all of us? Aren't we that guy in our rehearsals? Like we hear what we want to hear in rehearsals. And we listen for 1, 2, or 3 things, and the rest of the universe is looking at great things 4 through 100. So good job, you smarty teacher. You got those 3 things, and you're like listening for those things, and you've conditioned yourself to be like, that is great. But then when you pull back out to listen, you're like, that is terrible. That's you with me?
No, that's perfect.
Okay.
I think that, like, I've had this fear. Like, the moment you just described, that's my fear. Like, going into the jazz concert last week.
Yeah.
Like, that is my fear that I'm like, I think the kids sound pretty good. And I'm, like, jamming along. And I'm like, is this just horrible? Are they going to think I'm an idiot, like, working with these guys for 4 months on this? Like, do I need to just call it off right now?
Yeah.
Like, that's like the voices in my head.
Yeah.
That's the voices in my head. Because I think every teacher feels that way when they put their kids out there. They're
Well,
like,
you should.
I think this is good, but what if it's horrible? What if I'm actually living in a simulation right now and I didn't know it, and the kids just sound god-awful every day, and I'm like smiling, cheering them on, you sound great. Good job. And it's just like a hot mess. I think about that. Perfect example, though, that just happened. So this concept was spun off because Steve and I sat here in this desk for a really long time talking, catching up, as we do. But I asked him, because he was at our jazz concert last week, and just said, like, no, tell me what you got. And the first thing he said, he's like, you've got to change the drum heads. That was like the first thing out of his mouth. He's like, you've got to change the drum heads. And he said it just like that, which I think that's like a perfect analogy, because not something I would be thinking about.
Or me. It's the same drum set I used for how many years? And people would be like to me, like, dude, you need to change the drum heads. And I think you get into the space of listening to it every day, and you're like, that's it. That's how it should sound, because that's how it sounded yesterday. That's how it should sound. And then you get a third party coming in and going, are you playing like with a piece of
Fisher
salmon?
Price drum set?
You're like Scott Spradlin used to say, like, are you hitting that drum with a piece of salmon or something? Like, so you don't realize it until you're like I was in a totally different space, so I heard it, and then I told you, and you're like, yeah, like, but I could tell, like, you don't notice that because I didn't notice that.
And like
none of us.
How often, like, as the teacher that you're in front of the band, are you worried about a non-performance thing?
Yes.
Like something out of the kid's control,
Yes.
like that. Like that usually shows up last to me, because I'm like, and again, like as you said, you listen to the same thing every day and you're trying to fix the same things every day, but you invite somebody new in, they're like, oh, this. And you're like, oh, look at that. Huh, that house is on fire over there. I need to go put that out. Never seen you before. That's where the smoke's been coming from. Right. But that's like the value of it, is like having somebody.
That's why you do it.
Yeah. You've got to change
the drum heads.
You said it just like that, too. I'm like, huh, what do you know? Drum heads. I said, okay, we'll do that.
So that lesson of going back to that story of like bobbing your head to pop tunes and like having it not really sound good is like all of us at some point.
Yes.
We're all like, dang, this sounds great. Or for whatever reason in our minds, we're thinking maybe we were listening for a specific part. Like, the third clarinets need to play out here, and they finally do. And you're like, yes, like that worked. Yes. The kids got that. Yes. Meanwhile, the rest of the tune is on fire,
But gosh darn it, those clarinets fixed it.
Exactly. So you see the progress. But if your scope is not right, that's where it's fun to have somebody else come in to say, consider this. Have you considered this? Have you considered this? And
it's meaningful.
It's very meaningful. It's humbling.
Ooh, humbling.
It's humbling
indeed.
Sitting there in a conversation.
But everyone needs a slice of humble pie, especially you trumpets. Okay. I have a lukewarm take. I don't know if it's a hot take.
Okay.
I think a lot of band directors, scratch that. I think a lot of people, specifically music teachers, are afraid to compliment their kids when things are going well because they fear they're going to be that guy, bobbing his head to the pop tune.
Mm-hmm.
And I think...
So what does that create, Jack?
Well, Steve, I don't know why I said that so loud. Let me finish the thought because I don't know the answer yet, so I need to stall. But I think it is a safety net for the director themselves to say, at least I know I'm not going to be that guy if I don't acknowledge the good. If I just keep riding them and making sure that they do what they need to do, I won't do that and be the guy that's bobbing his head on the side having a great time when it sounds horrible. But to answer your question, I think it can take away from a lot of good things going on in the classroom, for one, culture, but for two, I think the kids need to know when they're doing something well so they can replicate it. Why are you smiling like that? It's kind of creepy.
Because what's that movie, Smile?
Oh, have you seen that?
Yeah.
There's some jump scares in there.
Yeah, Jacobs, when he saw number 2, he said it just was not right.
No. That,
Yeah, he said he was terrified.
Yeah, I slept with the lights on that night.
Yeah. Don't we give this is
Uh-oh.
don't we
He's afraid.
Don't we give kids compliments sometimes so we can hear them?
What are you talking about? I never do that.
Dude.
Yeah, especially when somebody else walks into the band room. You're like,
Oh.
wow, you guys sounded really good on that soli. And the kids give you the half eyebrow. They're like, did we? Yeah.
But
to answer your question, yes. Yes.
You want to affirm yourself, and what better way to affirm yourself by affirming a teenager, and you deflect it and you make them think they did the work, but you're like, suckers, I made that happen. Is that what's happening?
Quite possibly. Yeah, that's
No, I do think that's a part of it.
I'm totally with
And
you.
I think that's therapeutically understood why we do that, because you got to have some progress and joy and self assuredness, but then also, I mean, it's legit though, complimenting a student, that feels good to do that.
I concur. That's what you want to be a teacher for.
Right.
That's the Miss Honey stuff.
Yes.
Because we live in the life of Miss Trenchbolt too much.
Right.
Well, Jack, maybe you just should be nicer. I am working on it, everybody. Trying to reel in the sarcasm. Clearly it's not going that well.
You're a nice guy.
Wow, I think you hit the nail on the head with that one quite a bit. But then you get into this conundrum of the authenticity of the compliment.
Exactly.
And do kids sniff that out?
I know.
They're like, are you talking to me right now? You're talking to you. I don't know if they get that far in the self-awareness, but I do think
some of them do.
I think
some of the French horn players do.
Yeah.
Trombones don't even know rehearsal started. So, but other than that,
oh, they don't get compliments that often anyway.
right? Well, they shouldn't. Okay.
Exactly.
Gosh,
That's interesting.
we compliment
ourselves.
ourselves.
Finding the balance of, I think you do a good job of that. Gee, Jack, really? Do you think I do a good job? I was just saving you the airspace because I knew that was going to come out next. I think you do a good job of that. You're pretty authentic.
Of complimenting?
Of balancing. I can remember, do you remember the, sorry if this brings back, but the Handel Hendrix show, the clarinet opening?
Yes.
I remember you saying to those kids, you're like, I hope at finals there's an individual judge right next to you.
Mm.
What a compliment. What a compliment. Because how many times do you wish you could be like, hey, you see that practice football field, Judge? We're going to be over there today. Actually, funny story about that. So the way the features were set up this year in our part 2, it was the woodwinds in the center, low brass on side 1, high brass on side 2. They'd all rush to the woodwinds, then they'd make it to the low brass for their features, and the high brass feature would have started already, and the amount of tapes that we got were like, sorry, trumpets.
Oh.
And I was like, I'm not sorry.
I think it was excellent staging.
I think that's great
Right?
staging. Yeah, we never got any feedback on that, Mr.
Yeah.
Hinkle. Why is that? I don't know. But I remember you saying that, and I just remember like how hard you guys worked on that because it was so exposed and so difficult. And it was one of those things that wasn't going to be clean probably until the end of the year.
Right.
And you finally got there and you let the kids know. I mean, that was payout.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. And you kind of, I think it's like, it's still being very authentic, but it's like building up that sense of anticipation and like hopefulness.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And you're still saying, as you said, like you're staying authentic to you, authentic to the kids, and authentic to the music, which are all important. Okay, unfortunately, Steve, we got to call it right now because I got to go put on fancy clothes. I'm sorry, man. We spent too much time talking about jazz band. We didn't get to record as long as we wanted to. I'm sorry, okay? I am apologizing publicly. I'm sorry.
Self-critical. Okay. So please please like and subscribe all our socials, and it helps us to get feedback about what we're doing. Love to hear from you. Love the comments. Keep it going.
Thanks for making our TikTok blow up this past week.
Oh, that was
a
really
grand old time.
Fun.
Lost a lot of phone battery that day.
Yeah.
A lot of phone battery.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Enjoy your holiday coming up.
Yeah, and if the conversations at the Thanksgiving dinner table get like political or like you don't want to go, just like throw in chops. Just be like, hey, have you guys listened to this podcast? Like, is your uncle that you don't see very often starts bringing up political stuff? Throw in the chops in there.
I'll be sure my sons have it.
Okay.
Okay. So for Steve Peterson,
Jack Hinkle.
we're out of here.